Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Breaking Labels podcast. So, if you are watching on YouTube, this is going to be one of the first times I'm actually recording with the intention of putting this on YouTube. But it felt very appropriate because I'm doing something a little different. Typically, my format is that I do interviews, and once in a while, I might do a solo cast. And today is going to be a solo cast, and it's going to be the kickoff to book reviews, regular book reviews that I'll be doing, or maybe not so much a review as just the thoughts and feelings that I've been thinking about the book that I'm reading. And the one that I felt this incredible urge to share with the podcast audience, with anybody who happens to find this on YouTube, is Rhonda Byrne's The Magic. I bet you thought I was about to say The Secret, which is also a great book. Actually, I listened to that and then I watched the documentary. But The Magic is magical and is amazing. All right. Okay. You can roll your eyes at that. I don't even know if that was cheesy, but I really, really am excited to talk about this because so if you don't know, The Magic is a book about gratitude. And I never, ever would have picked up a book about gratitude because I kind of get a little annoyed when I see people doing like the gratitude challenges on Instagram or Facebook, and not annoyed at them, but annoyed at the thought of it. Like, well, I don't need to do a gratitude challenge because I know that I am blessed. If I wanted to get real southern on it, I would say, I know I am too blessed to be stressed. And I think that in as general rule, I'm a pretty grateful person. I say thank you. I do stuff that's nice for other people. Ergo, I'm grateful. No. No, ma'am. No, sir. Mm-mm. Nope. Mm-mm. Didn't realize how ungrateful I was till I read this. And I'm not saying read this so that you'll feel ashamed of not being grateful. That is not what I'm trying to say here. I'm saying you should read this if you feel any kind of a way about any situation in your life. And there is a part of you that says, there's got to be a better way, or I don't like the direction that this is going. How do I change it? Okay? That applies to a lot of things. That applies to family relationships. That applies to relationships like romantic relationships, friendships, monies. Yeah, honey, we talking some money on here because you best better believe that I actually got a check I was not expecting while reading this. I don't think that was a coincidence. And I know there are going to be some pessimists who listen to this podcast or watch this and are like, what can 28 days of gratitude do for you? Well, I'm glad you asked, but didn't ask because it can do a lot. So let's start off with again, the basic premise is, everything stems from gratitude. And what really struck me was, again, coming from the perspective of somebody who's just like, I don't need to do a challenge to be grateful. Like, I get it. I'm grateful. The beauty of this book is it puts into a spotlight all the amazing things that happen in our lives every single day that we completely bypass because we're so focused on what's not going right. And we're so focused on what could be better. And yet, we completely forget the miracle of breath, the miracle of if you are able to walking from point A to point B, the miracle that you're still breathing, you're alive, you're here. And I understand waking up and feeling like that is not a blessing because I've had those days too. I have been in situations where waking up really wasn't so comforting because I was waking up to a whole lot of problems that I still didn't know how to solve and I didn't know a way out of. So, if that is you right now, I get you, boo. I get you because I've been there. And I still think you need to read this book. Not think, I know you need to read this book. Actually, if that's your situation, you really need to read this book. But I went into this because my coach, I have a coach, suggested it. And thank God she didn't tell me what it was about or actually, I guess really just what it was about. Because again, if she had told me, "Hey, you should read this book. It's about gratitude," I would have been like, okay. So back to talking about business and growing a business and growing a podcast. I don't know what gratitude's going to do for me, but I do need some strategy. I do need some skill sets. I need you to point me in the way of some modules. Now, the irony being, I am in a program with plenty of modules, but I don't really like modules. That's something that we found out during reading this. I'm not a big module girl. Don't love them. Not my jam. But point being, because I did digress, for whatever reason, when she suggested it, she'd already recommended another book that I read that I really enjoyed. So I didn't question it. I was like, all right, girl, whatever you tell me, I'm doing because I'm in learning mode. Because if I am nothing else, I am a teacher's daughter and I do take direction. Maybe I don't watch the modules, but I do take direction. So she told me to read it, got on my Amazons, ordered it, had it in 2 days. Wow. Wow. Now, here's the thing, this is not a book that you just passively read. When you read this book, you also are going to do the practices, the gratitude practices for 28 days. Now, Rhonda had me at 28 days because that happens to be my favorite number, one of my favorite numbers, because it's the day I was born. I was born on the 28th. So I was like, all right, Rhonda, you're right. 28 is magical in itself. So let's do this 28-day challenge. Now, something you should know about me, I don't usually like to do anything exactly by the book. I might like you to give me direction, but part of the reason I like you to give me direction is so I can figure out a way that I cannot do exactly what you tell me to do, because I probably might figure out a better way to do it. Spoiler alert, that doesn't work. I don't know why at 34 I have not figured out that it not following directions all the way doesn't usually reap me the benefits that I want, but I still persist. Stubborn person that I am, I still persist. But this, I can say with all honesty and pride, I have done every single day. Every single exercise. And there was one day where, because I like to do it early in the morning, that's my jam. I'm early morning person. That's when I feel quiet. Usually that's when the panic of the day, the anxiety of the day hasn't quite set in. Not always, because sometimes I look at my phone and then all that stuff comes rushing in. But so mornings are my jam, but there was a morning where I didn't get through the entire practice. But you best believe I pulled over later in the day in the midst of because it was a Sunday, I was doing my Sunday errands, getting groceries, running all the errands, prepping for the week. And I still pulled over into a parking lot and I did the rest of my exercise because I could feel a difference from day one. And there aren't many things that I feel a difference on day one. This you will. Now, let's talk about a little prosperity because I just feel compelled to tell you. So, first things first, before the book, before I started reading the book, I went on a trip to Miami to see a friend and I spent some money on a dress that I have never in my life spent money on. Like it was, I'm not even gonna say how much it was. It was a lot of money for me at the time. It seemed like it was. And I remember I've already been in this mode of attraction, manifestation, learning, like how to let go of blocks, all that. Been in that zone. So I should preface it by saying that. But I spent the money on the dress and I thought, that's okay. I can make that in a week. No problem. And that's pretty much the last I thought about it. Start reading this book. I go to get my mail one day. Now, I don't remember at what point, but I'm pretty sure it was like in the first 7 days of reading it. I have a check. I'll be honest with you. I still don't quite know what the check is for. It was like something about profit share or something. I really don't know. But I do know that the amount was for that dress, for some sunglasses I bought in Miami, and then a little extra. Now you could say, okay, that check was coming. It was coming regardless of whether or not you were reading the book. You might be right. But that amount to me, I was like, Okay, Magic. I see you. All right. I'm open. I'm listening. I like this. This is fun. Keep going. I'm keep doing my morning journaling, morning gratitude practices. And it's funny because last week when I had another session with my coach, my very wise coach, she was asking me about the podcast and downloads and all that sort of thing. And instead of responding in gratitude, like I had been journaling every morning, like I am grateful for every single download. I am grateful for every single review, all that. Just believing it. Dang it, the first thing out of my mouth wasn't, well, it jumped up in numbers and then it went down. And I don't really have many, like it was not any gratitude. And she was like, hold up. And she didn't even have to finish. I was like, none of that was grateful. None of that was grateful for any of the wonderful things that have happened. None of it. Why was the first thing out of my mouth all the things that could be better? And it made me realize how much I have done that throughout my life. Like somebody asked, how you doing? I'm good, or I'm hanging in there. Not, I'm great. I'm great because I'm alive. I'm great because there are so many reasons that I could not be where I am. And yet still I stand. Yet here I am. Why is that not the response? And to the point where, and this is like some raw honesty here, to the point where I would almost rather say, like I'm good, because I don't want them to feel like everything's great. I don't want them to think everything's perfect because it's not. So I don't want to say everything's great. I want you to know I'm dealing with some ish too. What does that do? What does that do? Does that reduce the ish that I am dealing with? No. Does it connect me with the person? Maybe, but do we really want to connect on all the things that are not right in our lives? Sometimes we do. Sometimes we do like to do that. Guilty. Guilty right here. Definitely do that. Man, have I gotten deep in those conversations about everything that's wrong. And yet, went into this being like, I'm grateful. I don't need to work on it. I was so wrong. Now, the impetus for me actually recording this is something that happened today, because I have been feeling like I'm getting through some stuff. I'm working through some stuff. I'm making progress. And I don't need to get into why or the how, but I know I am. I know I'm getting to a different place for myself. But this morning, I was doing some online shopping because Old Navy sent me an email that said, we got some $3 tanks. Well, your girl loves some $3 anything. But I wanted to make sure, like, I was checking on the fabric to see what fabrics it's made with, because I don't want one of those tanks that like looks loosey goosey ugly by like 10 o'clock if you put it on at 8. I hate that. Pet peeve. Again, I digress, but why do they make those? Like, ooh, the perfect tee, but it looks messy and sloppy in 2 hours. No, thank you. I don't care if it costs $3. I don't want that because I don't want to look like I paid $3. I want to look chic. I want to look fabulous. So I'm on the Old Navy website, doot, 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 actually on my phone, and I'm looking at these tees. Okay, that's a good fabric combination. That's going to hold well. I'm going to be feeling good in that. All right, we'll get some $3 tees. So I'm ordering. And if you scroll down, sometimes if you're on your phone, and they'll have like all these recommendations for all the other stuff you could buy. Usually that stuff is not as deeply discounted as whatever you're looking at. Nonetheless, I came across some masks. Yes, because in the time of COVID, what would excite me more than some really pretty masks? But they're the ones, like the active ones, so they can breathe a little bit more. And I'm going to New Orleans in 2 weekends, and I got some outfits planned, and I didn't have masks to match. I did not have masks to match. Now, you want to talk about some first world problems? I ain't out here complaining about the fact that I didn't have masks to match. Okay, I know, I get it, but I saw these masks. There's a set of 3. I liked them. I really wanted them, but I was not trying to pay for shipping. And all the shirts that I ordered, like I could pick them up at an Old Navy not too far from me. So I was like, well, let me put the mask in and see if I can pick those up. No, not at this location. So I tried like 4 other locations. Long story, no longer short. The masks were not coming. Like I was gonna have to pay $7 in shipping for $12 worth of mask. I was like, well, that's silly. I ain't doing that. No, the mask just ain't meant to be. I'm sure I can find something that match or relatively whatever. No big deal. And I was like, oh well, it is what it is. Now, Something I have been working on and constantly telling myself throughout this 28 days of gratitude is nothing happens to me, everything happens for me. Okay. So I put my little order in so that I can go pick it up at my designated Old Navy in a couple of hours. And I don't know, right? Maybe 30, 45 minutes later, I get a little email. We're sorry, one of the items is not available. And I was like, okay. So I go on and it says, but if you use this code, we're sorry for the inconvenience. So we'll ship it to you and you don't have to pay for shipping because we made a boo boo and told you it was available when it wasn't. And I was like, oh, that's a bummer. And then I realized, oh, wait. Old Navy's picking up the shipping. They already shipping me that $3 tank top. Maybe they'll ship me some masks too. So I was like, let me just put this in the cart and see what happens. Put in the cart, no shipping. So I get my tank and I get my mask that I wanted without having to pay the shipping. Now, look, I get it. You might be thinking, you probably are thinking, it is a cloth mask. Why on earth would you getting free shipping on some cloth mask make you want to talk about an entire book for an episode of your podcast? Well, my friends, and I'm going to butcher it because I don't know the verse verbatim, but there is a verse in the Bible that says something to the effect of if you see birds flying, they're not worrying about what's going to happen in the winter. If God can take care of a bird, God can take care of a plant. I'm really butchering this, I promise you. Don't you think He can take care of your needs? Now, did I need these masks? No, I could have done just fine without them. But the point is, and what I was so overwhelmed with as I'm looking and thinking about how this all played out is if me speaking a desire into the ether, into the world, and letting it go could result in me getting masks or a check that I didn't expect, what more could be there for me? What more could be there for me for being grateful for what I already have? Oh, God, that scared me. My little people on the podcast aren't going to see. I'll edit this out. But on YouTube, my little sign or my little picture just fell off. Maybe that was a sign. What? Okay, now I can't edit that out. I got to leave it in. But if something that minor could happen, what major things could happen? And it got me thinking because I'm like, okay, what did I do? What did I do to manifest that? Well, I was grateful for the shirts that I could get and I didn't think anything else of it. What if it could be that simple all the time? What if you desire something so deeply, you just didn't worry about it? You said, I love this. I want this. I want this relationship to be healed. And then you just went about your business with the thought, it'll be healed. And you don't give it another thought. Because how many times do we say, I want this, I want this, I want this? And then that's all we think about. And then we think about how much we don't have it and why we don't have it. And where is it? And why isn't it here? And if I want it so bad, it must be here. And it don't come. Maybe the secret of the magic is just to know it's there and it's coming when you least expect it and for things that you don't expect. So for me, that was a sign of something so much greater to come, a possibility that I just hadn't been open to. And I hadn't really, well, that's not true. I'd heard this, right? And again, all these podcasts I've been listening to, because as much as I have a podcast, I'm an avid listener. And I just couldn't quite get that concept of, well, I want something. Don't I need to tell the universe that I want it all the time and remind it all the time? Because I don't want them to forget that I really, really want it. I really, really need it, you know? Just in case, because I know the universe is busy. God's busy. Like got lots of people to help. So I need to just make sure I'm like putting in my kind of like you're putting in like throwing coins into a wishing fountain. Let me throw an extra one. Okay. Yeah, let me throw a quarter in. need to throw the whole bag in? Like, what do I need to do to get this? When's it coming? What if you threw a penny? Shoot, you threw a fake penny. Well, don't be out here with counterfeit money. I mean like a toy penny or something. I don't know. But just throw something in. I want it. It's coming. I want my mask without shipping. It's coming. It came. I want the money that I just spent on this dress, and actually I didn't even ask for then some. I just said I could make it in a week. And I had it in a week. Now here's the beauty of this, because I come from a family. You want something, you work hard, you effort for it. I'm not out here saying don't be doing work. I work a job. I'm putting in work, right? But the thought is that that doesn't mean that you have to hustle that much harder for it. That is a incredible concept for me. Now, one of the other blessings from reading this book is, was it yesterday? I believe it was yesterday. And the challenge on top of your 10 gratitude, like you say a list of 10 things that you're grateful for every morning, right? But there's also challenges on top of that. And by challenges, I mean practices. And it was to choose something like you made a mistake or something that you didn't do right. And you have to write all the things that came from it that you were grateful for. So the lessons, and like the example that she uses in that chapter is, if you get a speeding ticket, saying like, I'm grateful for the police officer for pulling me over because I really wasn't paying attention to my speed and something bad could have happened. I'm grateful that we have police to do this. I'm grateful for that was the example in the chapter. I struggled at first. Not because I don't make mistakes, I do. But I couldn't quite figure out what felt right to talk about. Like what felt right to go through finding 10 things that I could be grateful for. And what I came up with was forgiveness for myself. Because I have been so like in the back of my mind, sometimes in the front of it, thinking, why didn't I start my podcast sooner? If I had been unhappy at my job and known that I felt called to do something else, why did I wait so long? What was it? When there were things that I didn't enjoy and I knew I didn't want, why did I stay? So, over the course of finding 10 things that I could be grateful for, I found forgiveness for myself. And I also remembered all of the amazing things that came from that job, all the amazing things that have come in my life by not starting the podcast sooner. And that to me was worth more than that check. It's worth more than my no shipping cost mask, to be able to move past that. And I think that's important for a lot of people, because one thing that always struck me when I was a kid or in my 20s, when I would talk to people in their 50s and 60s who didn't like their life, they didn't like where they were, or typically where they weren't in life. And I was always just so taken with the regret. My life could have been this. It should have been this. And maybe they had a particular person they could blame. Maybe they had a particular event they could blame. But the thing that was always consistent was the weight of sadness and disappointment in their voices. I heard a lot of different tones. I heard a lot of different accents over the years, but that weight was universal. And I was always struck, and I used to always say, I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to be one of those people who regrets where they are, who didn't take chances, who's pissed at where they are in life. Fast forward 12 years, and I'm wondering how 12 years passed, and I stayed in something I didn't, in my heart, think I was meant to do forever. Wondering that, thinking about that, giving energy to that doesn't change anything that happened. And what's worse and what's scariest, more scary. Mm, Lesson English grammar there or something. Um, but what is more scary than that is living in regret and wondering those things is doing nothing but hindering where I am going. And if you're watching this, if you've gotten to this point in the episode or watching it on YouTube, what are you holding on to? What relationship do you regret not getting out of sooner? What job did you not leave when you felt a gnawing, a tug that you could be doing something different? Forget even should be, that you could be. What thing have you done in your life that haunts you, truly haunts you? I- There are so many things, so many lessons that I got out of this book. And I really, truly cannot encourage everybody enough to read it. And not just read it, actually do the gratitude practices. I am telling you, without a shadow of doubt, no doubt in me at all, something in your life will change for the better. Commit to the process, commit to yourself, and I promise you, in 28 days, something magical is going to happen. Whether it's a relationship being restored, whether it's a relationship being healed, whether it's financial abundance, whether it's you forgiving yourself for what has happened that you cannot change. Read it, love it, and let me know. I can't wait to hear from you in 28 days.